Hey everyone, patching into today's El Nino update. We're going to have a look at the situation in the central part of the Pacific today, see how things are developing with the forecast El Nino. It's taken a long time to hook this up and get it going, but we'll have a look and see how things are developing, or whether it's developing, in a moment. It's been a while since I did an update. The last one was at the end of June, so we've gone through July, haven't done an update. I think it's about time we had a look at how things are progressing in the Pacific, so we're going to do that in a moment. Just say about the ads. There's video ads on our pages at GazWeatherVision.com. If you could hit play on the video ad, you'll be supporting GazWeatherVision.com, and thanks so much for doing that. The video ad essentially pays for me to have GazWeatherVision. It allows me to sit here and talk to you via GazWeatherVision.com. So if you could hit play on the ad and see what it's about, you'll be helping to support, I should say, GazWeatherVision. Thanks so much for doing that. So this is the latest sea surface temperature anomaly chart for the globe. This is from NASA. This was generated on the 7th of August, on Thursday, and the area that we're specifically interested in for this video is the Central Pacific, of course, stretching out from Peru and going over to Indonesia. That is the equatorial Pacific, the Central Pacific, and it's along that line, along the equatorial Pacific, that we get the El Nino and the La Nina, where water rises up to the surface. That's an El Nino. When cold water rises up to the surface, that's La Nina. And of course there are certain requirements to have these designated. We have to go over 0.5 of a degree above average over 5 tri-monthly periods to get an El Nino designated. To get a La Nina designated, it is the same, only 0.5 degrees or more below average over, again, a 5-monthly tri-monthly period. So sometimes you do get these El Nino and La Nina events. They never really get designated because they either don't quite reach the requirement in terms of the anomaly, or more often than not, actually, they don't stretch out over enough months over the 5-monthly period, 5 tri-monthly period, I should say. So this is the situation anyway at the moment. We're looking for warm water to be rising along the equatorial Pacific, and you have to say there's not much there, is there? We've still got this very warm sort of anomaly towards the coast of Peru, the region 1.2 region, but the area we're interested in is actually the more central part of the Pacific. It's this area just here, because the anomalies have to be in this central part of the Pacific, just there, over that 5 tri-monthly period, and it's not really happening actually at the moment. We're still, well, we're around average in terms of the temperature anomaly. There's a little bit of blue in there, indicating 1 or 2 areas across the equatorial Pacific actually a little bit below average, but certainly not really much sign, you would have to say, of El Nino picking up. But I think after a very slow, very sporadic start, we are seeing signs here that the El Nino could begin to get going. And the reason that I'm quite interested, and I spotted this a few days ago, is that this area here, this cold water here, that's been moving in that sort of direction, sort of limiting the chance of the El Nino, that cold water is beginning to shrink. If I go back a month and show you the situation on the 7th of July, the anomaly for the 7th of July, you can see that the cold water there off the coast of Chile and stretching up towards that central part of the equatorial Pacific was much more extensive, a much bigger cold pool of water just there. And I say it's that sort of cold pool that is pushing this way and sort of getting into, or mixing into, the waters in the equatorial Pacific, and sort of limiting the potential for this El Nino to develop. But if we go back to the very latest anomaly, I think you can definitely see that there's been a shrinkage taking place of this cold water. As this cold water shrinks away, it should allow the oceans and the atmosphere to begin to couple up and to begin to develop this El Nino. That's certainly what the modelling is seeing. The modelling is still very consistent in seeing not a strong El Nino. We're not going to have a strong El Nino. It's too late, I think, now to get a strong El Nino. And there's still too much cold water here going out off the coast of Peru into this central part of the Pacific. Too much cold water there really to allow a strong or mega, whatever you want to call it, a big El Nino event. I don't don't think we're going to get that. But I think we are still seeing a good signal in the modelling for a weak to moderate El Nino, and with this cold water sort of shrinking and weakening, I can't see any reason why we shouldn't get that El Nino coming on again. Going back a month, that was the cold water, nice cold pool stretched out from the Chilean coast all the way up central part of the equatorial Pacific, going again to this latest update, and we can see that, yeah, that cold water is definitely easing away, and it should allow the oceans and the atmosphere to finally start to hook up. This is the SOI, the Southern Oscillation Index. This is for the last month. It's difficult to say about the Southern Oscillation Index, but basically it's telling us that the atmosphere and the oceans are sort of coupling up, or whether the atmosphere and the oceans are coupling up. When we've got negative SOI, which is just here, for instance, on the 11th of July, 12th of July, 13th of July, strongly negative Southern Oscillation Index. That's telling us that the atmosphere is reflecting an El Nino state within the Southern Ocean, basically. But when the SOI goes positive, as for instance we've got here, the 15th, the 16th of July, when it's going into positive territory, that's telling us that the atmosphere is reflecting a La Nina sort of state. Now, when you've got a strong El Nino coming on, you're going to get a strong Southern Oscillation Index, strong negative Southern Oscillation Index. The atmosphere and the oceans are going to couple up. When the El Nino is going to be weaker, you're going to have fits and starts, really, with the Southern Oscillation Index going negative. And that's what we've been seeing over the last month or two. We have had some days that have gone very negative. As I say, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, we have got the atmosphere within the Southern Ocean reflecting the El Nino, but at other times we've been going still strongly positive, which is telling us that the atmosphere in the Southern Ocean is reflecting more of a La Nina setup, and it certainly isn't sort of coupling up when this is happening. When we're going positive with the SOI, it's not coupling up with the oceans, and that's really been the main problem, I think, to get this El Nino going. But if we come down and have a look at the latest sort of index, and we can go from the 1st of August, shall we, and we start on the 1st of August again, with the atmosphere still not really reflecting this El Nino. We're still positive there with the SOI, the Southern Oscillation Index. So again, the atmosphere still sort of reflecting a La Nina, or sort of fighting against the El Nino, if you like, in the ocean. But on the 3rd we do go strongly negative, and that's how we go into the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th of August, all strongly negative, or certainly negative anyway, in terms of the SOI. So very gradually, I think we are seeing the SOI. It is a very gradual process, but very, very gradually, I think we're seeing the Southern Oscillation Index slowly beginning to reflect more of an El Nino type setup. But boy, is it a job to get this one going. This is the Southern Oscillation Index going back. How far do we go back with this? It goes back a long way. This is from the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia. This goes quite way back to 1876. Every month, in terms of the Southern Oscillation Index, back to 1876. You can find the link to this on my links page. Very useful information. What we're interested in is the Southern Oscillation Index for this year. Obviously, we start in 2014 just here in January, and we're at 12.2 in terms of the Southern Oscillation Index. Then February, we go negative very slightly, 1.3, starting to reflect maybe El Nino setup. Remember, it's negative SOI, but reflects the El Nino. March, that's when we get sort of the speculation going on about the mega El Nino, because we go strongly negative in March, down to minus 13.3 with the Southern Oscillation Index. At that point, there was lots of speculation in the papers, on the media, on the blogs, and on the social networks. There's a lot of speculation that we could be seeing our strongest El Nino, the first mega sort of El Nino, or Super Nino, since 1998, because when the Southern Oscillation Index goes strongly negative early, like that, in March, when that happens, that's very often a sign that you're hooking up the atmosphere and the oceans early, and you're going to get a big El Nino event. But of course we get to April and we swing positive again. Positive is reflecting a La Nina state, or it's sort of fighting against the El Nino, and that's how we go into May as well, in a sort of positive territory. So that sort of writes off the chance of a Super Nino, in my opinion, because again it has to be early that the Southern Oscillation Index starts to hook up with the oceans to get these mega events. And they've really just been trending very slightly negative through June and July, going back maybe to reflecting a slightly negative El Nino setup, but nothing really definitive there that you would say is, yes, this is definitely reflecting an El Nino coming on. But I would anticipate as we get through to August, well, it'll probably be very similar in August to June and July, but I think as we get through to September and October and November, and of course December, when we reach our peak usually with El Nino, I would anticipate those months will start to reflect the El Nino more. So we'll see the Southern Oscillation Index going more and more negative through these months. That would be my prediction. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. The last El Nino event that we had was in 2009, 2010. Well, actually, we tried to get one going in 2012, so very quick to talk about that. We do go negative with the SOI in April, May, and June and July and August of 2012. Looks like the SOI is going into an El Nino setup, but then it all collapses and we go positive again through September, October, November. So again, that year sort of tried to get an El Nino going through the spring and summer of 2012, but the whole thing collapsed as we got through to the autumn. I'm not anticipating that to happen this time because we've never really reflected an El Nino with the Southern Oscillation Index, not over a consistent period anyway so far this year, but I think it'll come on as we get into late summer and the autumn. Now, but last year that had an El Nino, and it was quite a strong El Nino in the end, was 2009, 2010, and we see what happened then. Again, it was sort of fits and starts with that El Nino. We go negative with the SOI in May and June, so again reflecting the El Nino with the atmosphere in those 2 months, although not strongly negative, but we are going negative. Then July we go positive, so fighting against the El Nino. August we go negative, so again the atmosphere and the oceans are coupling up. But September we fight against the El Nino, again go positive. Then finally, as we get through to October 2009, we go definitively negative, then minus 14.7, and we keep it through November, December, on into January, February and March of 2010. And that's sort of what I'm beginning to suspect is going to happen this time. I think we're starting off with fits and starts with this El Nino. Eventually I think we will start coupling it up, although I don't think we're going to have quite such a strong event as we had in 2009. This is the sea surface temperature anomaly for the 6th of August 2009. You can see there's not a lot going on at that point. Again, we've got this sort of warming off the coast of Peru. We have got a bit of an El Nino signature just there, but in the area that we're interested in, that central part of the Pacific, not a great deal going on. And we've just seen why that was the case, because through 2009 we were very slow coupling the atmosphere and the oceans up. But notice what's interesting in 2009 is that we have very much less cold water off the Chilean coast going sort of this way, very much less in the way of cold water than we've got this year. So eventually, as we get on towards the autumn and winter of 2009, that does allow the El Nino to really set in. It was a pretty strong El Nino as well. It's actually the strongest since 1997. Nothing like 97, 98, nowhere near that sort of severe, but nevertheless it was quite a strong, or moderate to strong, centrally based El Nino by the time we got through to winter. I think we're going to struggle to get that strong with this El Nino, to be honest, because again, going back to this cold water, it's much more extensive here, although it is weakening off the Chilean coast and going up to the central part of the Pacific. It's much more extensive than it was in 2009. Notice that by the time we get through, this is for Christmas Eve 2009, by the time we get through to Christmas Eve 2009, we're beginning to see the cold waters coming back then down towards the Chilean coast, and that's the first thing really that you have to start looking at to get the switch going from El Nino Niño to La Nina. We have the El Niño through winter of 2009-2010, get to the spring and summer of 2010, and we flip it from El Niño to La Nina, and of course that takes us then through the rest of 2010 and 2011 and even into 2012 with that La Nina. The very first signs of it was the waters beginning to cool off the coast of Chile, and the cold anomalies beginning to gather. Eventually that did push up in towards the equatorial Pacific. But I think the El Niño is still going to come on. Let's have a look at some models, and we can see, first of all, with the ECMWF, the latest forecast, which was generated in July from the ECMWF, that is definitely going for a weak to moderate El Niño. Again, we have to be, remember, we have to be above 0.5 of an anomaly, of a degree of an anomaly, above average. Virtually all members of the ensemble are doing that. This is the 2 Celsius to 1 Celsius bracket just here, and I think you can clearly see that most members of the ensemble plume, as we call them, are within that bracket, so that is definitely going for a moderate El Niño to develop through the course of the rest of this year. Some go up into sort of Super Nino territory, but they're outliers, and some would keep it sort of neutral, but again, these are outliers as well. The general idea within this model is to take things into the weak to moderate El Niño territory by the time we get through towards the last stage of the year. These are the days just here: October, November, December, January, and I think you can definitively see that ECM is going for an El Niño. A strong El Niño, it is going for something of an El Niño. The Jamstec IOD is also going for it, again not going for a strong El Niño, but overall it's going into weak El Niño territory. Quite a split there. Some do go into the moderate territory, which is this sort of area just here. Some do keep it, some do keep it into sort of neutral territory, which is down here. But I think the general sort of idea with this model, the bulk of the members of the ensemble are again into sort of weak territory up to 1 degree, with the red line here, which is the ensemble mean. So that's telling us that the mean of the ensemble is seeing that yes, we are going to go up into that weak El Niño territory through the course of this year. And the CFS V2, again, that is seeing it. It's seeing that we will go up into moderate El Niño territory through the course of this year. This is the temperature anomaly just here, and the ensemble mean, which is this thick black line just here, does eventually get itself up to around 1.5 degrees above average in terms of the anomaly. That is into solid moderate El Niño territory. Not strong. We have got 1 or 2 members of the ensemble that go into strong sort of El Niño territory, which is this area just here, 2 degrees above average. 1 or 2 keep it in sort of neutral territory, which is this area just here. But again, the overall mean of the ensemble is to take things up into moderate El Niño territory. So all models in agreement that this El Niño is going to come on, and it has been consistent signal through most of the spring and through the summer, so it's still there, and you can't really go against the modelling. It's just that it's taking such a long time to happen. So what we have to do as forecasters, we have to go with our gut instinct. And my gut instinct is that we are going to get this eventually coming on as we get through towards the autumn. We are going to see an El Niño, not going to be a strong one, but we are going to see an El Niño as we go through the latter stages of the year. This is the anomaly for the region 1.2, for the 1.2 region in the equatorial Pacific, just to show that we are still expecting a Modoki El Niño. And I'll just go back and explain again. 1.2 is this area just here, from the coast of Peru going out to there. 3.4, put 1.2 there. 3.4 is this area in the central part of the Pacific, and of course it's 3.4 that's important to actually get an El Nino designated, you have to have the warming in the central part of the Pacific. Now, when you get it warmer in the central part of the Pacific as opposed to off the coast of Peru, then you're talking about a Modoki El Niño, which is something different. Usually what happens with an El Niño is that the water is, well, warm water is consistent. I've got a bit askew there with my line. The warm water is consistent across the whole of the equatorial Pacific, but in a Modoki El Niño you'll get it cooler here and warmer just here, and that is what's being signalled. I'll just get rid of that. That is what's being signalled by the CFS model, that 1.2 off Peruvian coast is going to drop down through the remainder of the summer into the order. It's going to cool off and eventually go back towards neutral, or maybe a little bit above sort of neutral, whilst at the same time 3.4, the central part of the Pacific, is warming. When that happens, it's a Modoki El Niño. That's what we had in 2009-2010. Its effects on the weather system, weather patterns across particularly the United States, but also perhaps for Europe as well, its effects are different with a Modoki El Niño compared to a regular El Niño. We had a regular El Niño in 97-98, the mega El Niño 2009-2010 was a different El Niño. It looks like we're going to have a different El Niño this time as well, a Modoki El Niño. These Modokis are getting a little bit more common, by the way, just going off on a bit of a tangent. It's not entirely clear why they're getting more common. It could be to do with climate change, it could be to do with solar activity. There's a lot of research going on into this to try and establish why Modoki El Niños, central based El Niños, are getting more common than they were. But nevertheless, that looks like what we're going to have this time in a Modoki El Niño. And as we get through to next month, I'm going to show you some very interesting information that I've been sent, that I received from Assad in Germany. And that sort of reflects what the implications of a Modoki El Niño can be for Europe, and they're very striking, the effects of a Modoki El Niño compared to a regular, normal El Niño. Quite striking, and I think you'll find those charts very interesting. We'll have a look at them in September when I begin to do winter updates. That is the effects for winter, by the way. I don't think I said that, did I? But the effects for winter, we'll have a look at those next month when I begin to do the winter updates from September. I think you'll find them very, very interesting. But in summary, anyway, let's get back to what's going on. Well, the El Niño is still sort of struggling to get going. It's fits and starts. The Southern Oscillation Index is sometimes in an El Niño state, other times it's fighting against it. Very gradually, the SOI is going more negative, I think. So overall, with the waters, the cold waters off the Chilean coast sort of receding and breaking up, I think we are going to get the El Niño going. It's probably going to be a Modoki El Niño, probably going to be century based. It's weak to moderate, not going to be a strong event, I don't think. And we should see it coming on now as we get through to the remainder of the year. I've been saying this for so long, haven't I, that it's going to come on. I think it is going to finally start. But, of course, we'll see what's happening when I do the update next month. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.